my daughter. That's exciting for me because that's the last thing we have until summer really starts. But honestly, feels like summer has already started to me. The weather was blazing hot this weekend. A lot of days at the pool, 2 days at the pool actually for Memorial Day weekend. So that was a good time. Doug, welcome to the show. I think you had a good time too, right? You went away for some sort of thing.
I did. Went up to a wedding in Rochester for the weekend, away from the kids.
Nice.
Which Katie and I just kept looking at each other. We were like, man, this is just so easy. It's so everything,
Yeah,
like travel,
I know.
food, everything is just so much easier with no kids. And I mean, I love them. I love my life with my kids. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot easier without them.
It is. It is amazing when that happens. Even with mine and being older, it's just like we go on a little car trip together, and like it's just so easy to do stuff. No one has to stop. You go to the bathrooms and stuff. You just do adult things. Yeah, it's interesting how much we take that for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, good weekend. It is not super hot. It's definitely warmed up, but not super hot here, I would
Okay,
say.
feeling like
Matt, you're looking like
summertime.
an old child.
Yeah, that's the new comment. They just keep getting better. These I don't actually I don't know if they're carnivore because that's not necessarily a carnivore troll. It's just YouTube. YouTube. I remember I always thought this, and I'm just getting confirmation of it. Like people are just the default is to be mean, and I'm just like, and I think it has to do with the title of our show. I think because it's a plant-based morning show, people automatically assume that our mission is to convert them into a plant-based diet, and the fact that it showed up on their feed is a major intrusion on their life and right to not see plant-based information. Uh, and so they just write mean stuff. It's like, I mean, people probably didn't watch the show; they just insult something. But I mean, being
I kind of think
43, I don't mind looking at an old child. That's okay. Better
yeah,
than
I
an
kind
old
of think
adult.
I think that's pretty accurate. Like if I shave my beard, I'd probably look about 15 years younger, but I'd
Hmm.
still have like wrinkles and just like the agingness of my face.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it's kind of accurate, honestly.
I think it's a sign of good genes. I mean, you're going to age. Sun is going to catch up
Yeah.
to your skin. But if your genes make your facial features stay intact, it's good. I'll take it. Or maybe the diet. Maybe we can say the diet is the reason. Because that's what they said. They said, does eating vegan make you look like an old child or something like that? Or make you look like old children? All right. I put the wrong title of the show, so I'm changing that.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm gonna make a quick announcement here. If you're
Okay.
listening to this live or watching it on YouTube in the next few hours, we got 3 hours and 55 minutes left of Plantspalooza, and then everything shuts down. So up to 50% off everything at Compliment, lovecompliment.com.
How many hours
Uh,
left?
it ends at 3 p.m. Eastern, so 3
Today.
hours and 55 minutes today,
Look at that.
and then it's done. All the content is out. It's been pushed live. You can watch the interviews, but the biggest hurry right now is to take advantage of the discounts on essential nutrients, on organic protein, on creatine for longevity, gut nurture, all your favorites at Love Complement to support a plant-based diet to help you feel your best, to help you build and retain muscle, to help you have a healthy heart, and all the wonderful things that come from the nutrients that we have at Complement. And it's 25 to 50% off the entire site. Go to lovecompliment.com. The sale ends today at 3 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Get over there. All right. Show titles filled in. 5 best foods to slow aging. So that's perfect because that's we're talking about how to take tips from us on how to look like an old child.
Perfect.
I still don't know if that's slowing aging or not. But hello to Allie, Phyllis Hauser, Anne-Marie, Kate, Mr. Jeffrey, Matt O'Connor, Brandon Turner, and Michael Medlicott, the II guy, the guy who I told you, Doug, and everyone about. Is always putting II on the shows. Said that our eyes are a giveaway of iron deficiency. So I'm curious about that because I did respond to his last one and said, did you listen to the show? Because in this one, I explained that whole situation. So I'm glad Michael is here. Maybe he can tell us about that. Yeah, anyway, that's all I got. And what else, Doug? Any other stuff before we start? You sent me this Washington Post thing, which I had seen today as well, and I thought that was interesting. The stat is that the number of Americans reporting daily or near daily marijuana use has surpassed the number who report the same for alcohol use. And that is a shocking thing, considering a lot of countries or states it's still illegal. How many states is it still illegal? Do you know?
Probably half.
Yeah. So if it was legal everywhere, I mean, this number would dwarf the alcohol number. Is this in general a good thing? I mean, is cannabis in general safer than alcohol? I think so.
I think a lot of people would argue that, yeah. But I think excessive cannabis use is probably not a good thing any more than excessive anything.
Right. What about like the daily glass of wine versus the daily whatever smoking of marijuana or eating of gummies or whatever? I just would worry about like I guess I would sooner if I was going to do that on a daily basis would smoke it because that seems like a natural thing. Whereas the gummies, I'd worry about how they make it and all that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is pretty fascinating to me. I think that, and this article confirms that the number of people who drink alcohol is still far, far greater than the number of people who use cannabis. But for the daily use, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's surprising because people just drink a lot of alcohol. You think about how ingrained that is in the culture, American culture,
Right.
and it just shows you how times are changing, I guess.
Yeah, it really is strange. Like I still think of marijuana as like a no. Like that's
Yeah,
illegal. Like we just learned so much not
right.
to use drugs, whereas not to use alcohol when we were kids was of course you shouldn't as a kid, but it was like parents do, and the teacher
Yeah.
probably did sometimes. Who knows? So yeah, it's just a strange thing, but I don't know. It's good. I mean, and alcohol drinking numbers are going down, right? The overall numbers,
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, alcohol sales anyway.
right? So that's good.
But what's interesting is, and part of it still is that it's illegal in North Carolina. But I would never consider, like, I drink alcohol in front of my kids all the time, right? We go to a brewery,
Yeah,
we go to a bar at home, whatever.
right.
I'm not getting drunk in front of them, but I'm having a beer. I would
Sure.
never consider like passing around a joint in front of my kids, which I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe that's
right.
just how we've been ingrained. Like, I'm sure that that's not the case for everybody, but
For sure, maybe not. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
But no, I'm with you there. That would be like I'd feel like I was setting a very bad example for them.
Hmm.
Like to me, it'd be like saying drug use is okay, and then they're gonna get in all kinds of drugs if I do that, which is probably
I
totally
wonder
wrong.
also about secondhand, like if that's part of it too. Like, I also
Hmm,
never smoke a cigarette in front of them, and that's legal. But
right.
I don't know. It's just interesting how I think, like, how we're raised, how it'll change when our kids have kids. Um,
Yeah. It's also interesting how few people smoke normal cigarettes now, like of a younger
yeah, right.
generation anyway.
Hmm.
Uh, so that makes it especially weird because when my kids see someone smoking, even they're like, they get a little all weird. Like if someone they know, they find out that person they know smokes, like an adult,
Mm.
they're like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy that that person smokes.
What about vape?
We don't have much exposure to vaping. I never see vapes anywhere. They don't really. We used to
Uh,
smell it. Maybe more in Asheville. I don't know, but I don't ever anymore.
mhm. So I got a story from the weekend.
Okay.
I went to
What
this
do you?
wedding,
Okay.
as I mentioned, and shout out to the host and hostess of the wedding, the bride and groom, who went way out of their way to accommodate dietary preferences um, and needs. I guess I think we're about 5 of us vegans and a couple gluten-free people, and they even had a separate wedding cake that was vegan, gluten-free for
Wow.
just for us, but also
They
we
didn't have
made
a
it.
vegan and a gluten-free separate two different cakes. You had to have both.
We did have to share the
You
vegan
just lumped
gluten-free
in
cake,
to the
which is pretty
cake.
standard, But hey, I mean, it was something, right? Like how great is that?
I know.
I know, I'm not complaining at all, and I almost regret a little bit, or not regret, but I debated heavily whether I should even tell this story because I love the people who got married. We had such a wonderful, wonderful evening, and it was a perfect wedding, and everything was awesome. So I'm not like trying to say anything about the wedding or the event, but it's a story that we would have talked about on the show,
Mhm.
maybe even read about.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share because I experienced it firsthand.
Is this
So
the am I the a-hole situation? Did you make one of those?
I mean, it could have been. I could have made it a situation where it was an "Am I the
Okay.
a-hole" situation.
All right. What do we got?
All right. So dinner. It's a buffet style. They call your table up or whatever, and you go up and you walk down the buffet, and things are labeled. There's a couple things that are labeled vegan, a couple things that obviously aren't, and then there's a sign that says vegan and gluten-free proteins available upon request, because they had like fish and chicken, and then a little sign. So I said, can I request a vegan protein? They're like, sure, hand me your plate. They took it off to their kitchen, came back with what looked like a really impressively chicken-like piece of chicken or thing on the plate. And
Right.
I looked at the guy who gave it to me. I said, this is really vegan. He said, yeah. And I said, what's it made out of? Because it just looked so much like chicken. And he said, I don't know. It was plant-based. And I said, okay. and and so I went back to the table and and started eating a little bit of the sides and just kind of like this thing that looked so much like chicken.
Right.
And then I cut into it and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so much like chicken. This was far and above any plant-based version of chicken that I had ever seen. You could see like almost look like the tendons in there or whatever.
Right.
Whatever. But I double checked. I said, this is really
Yeah, right,
vegan.
right.
Yes. And I said, what's it made of? He said, I don't know. It's plant-based. I guess I triple checked, really.
Right. Right.
So I took a bite or I cut off a bite, took a bite. It was a regular sized bite, nothing huge, but not like a teeny tiny little nibble. And immediately I was like, there's no way this is not chicken. There's absolutely no way that this is not chicken. And so then I went back I took it back to the buffet and I was like, do I say anything at all or not? But I really wanted a vegan protein. So I wanted to know if it was chicken or not. So I went back and I talked to someone else who was kind of appeared to be overseeing the thing, just kind of lingering, making sure that things were right. And she looked at me and her face went white and she said, oh no, that's the gluten-free version. So it was actual chicken with some sort of gluten-free sauce. I mean, that was probably cooked in butter. It was probably there was probably so many things. But most importantly, I think is it was actually like a full-on piece of chicken. So that was the first time I had a bite of real chicken in years and years.
Did it make you want to go back? Was it like so good? You were like, man.
No, honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised myself by how grossed out I was by it. It didn't taste very good. Like it honestly didn't like it was, I always wonder that if I had a real hamburger, if I had a piece of chicken, like would I be like, oh man, this is so much better. But it was not. No, I mean, it really like it was not all that good. Honestly, the vegan version, which was a vegan chicken that had some sort of teriyaki sauce on it and some sort of slaw on top, it was delicious. It was perfect. Very satisfying.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, same way as when I had the new Beyond Burger, and I said it tasted more like a traditional veggie burger, but in some way it was better than like these really meaty. Like I think we're so accustomed to those tastes that are not, I don't know, not as wild tasting. I don't know. That I think in some ways are better just because we're used to it. So yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, did you care? Like, were you upset or anything? Or you just move on?
I mean, no, I wasn't. And like she replaced everything and gave me a different plate and was super apologetic. And no, I mean, I'm never going to tell the bride or anything like that. Like, no, I made zero fuss about it. And I wasn't upset. No, I mean, I was like a little grossed out and a little disappointed maybe, but I think, what I think helped, honestly, was the Taco Bell incident a couple months ago. Had that been the first piece of meat, because I already lost, as Mr. Jeffrey says, I guess you lost your V card. You have to start.
That's right. You start over. Yeah.
I mean, I started over like 3-4 months ago because of the Taco Bell incident.
All right, can we just was it delicious?
I'm not as.
You answered that when you said it was not delicious. Kate says, "Did you cry?" You obviously didn't cry. No. I think it was the sister of the woman who played Ariel in the live action.
Oh, that's right.
I forget.
Yeah, that's right.
It sounds like Halle Berry, but it's not. Halle Bailey, maybe, and then her sister, I think, is the one who ate the burger. I don't remember who ate the burger. Yeah. One of them. Yeah, I wish every vegan had your reaction and had the, like, to me, it's like nothing happened. It's like a little off-putting for you, but like an extra animal didn't die. It was a mistake. You consumed it. It's not like you have an allergy. You just choose not to support that industry by buying these things. So the fact that it got served to you doesn't matter. It matters none to me. So I wish people could see it that way. But most vegans can't, I don't think. I shouldn't say most, but the ones who are vocal and who you hear from, they can't. Curious what Vegan Stallion would say, because Vegan Stallion to me seems like, more on the certainly very reasonable vegan to me, but just more that way than I am. So I'm curious, vegan sign, what you think there. Yeah.
But
Well, good.
yeah,
I don't know why these
no,
mistakes
I mean, it
happen to
just
you,
made
but
me think of all the stories we've read about, like, people getting served, you know. And I think what was, I mean, the kicker was, like, I actually, like, double confirmed it, you know?
right. Yeah. I mean, you tried your hardest.
You know, and it was an honest mistake from that guy. Like, he probably just went down there and said, "Give me the special protein," or whatever, and, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know who's to blame, if anyone's to blame. It's just honest mistake, but, yeah. So there you go. I had chicken, real chicken.
There you go. Good. And it wasn't that good. I was thinking that you were saying this, that maybe you never confirmed that it wasn't. And I said, it could have been the meaty foods, because that chicken,
Mm,
I'm telling you, you can see the fibers in it because it's the mushroom threads or whatever. And it has this chicken smell to it or something that it just seems real. So I was thinking maybe you had that and you were duped and it actually was plant-based, but no, they confirmed it wasn't. Vegan
no,
science I don't think it's that big a deal. So there
there
you
you
go.
go.
I think we, because even our most Puritan vegans, like who we attract, I would say, and I would say vegan sign is one of them, are still don't think that's that big a deal. So
Mhm.
glad to hear it. Glad we tracked that.
Well, you know, so I debated whether to, like, I kind of was afraid that by going up there and asking again, that was kind of making a big deal out of it, right? So my
Yeah,
initial
right.
reaction was like, I'm just gonna eat it or eat part of it and see, you know, like, because I did confirm, you know, and or you know, and I asked again, and so, like, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it to, like, take a plate back
For
up to
sure. Yeah, I don't
the
either.
thing, or just not eat it, but you know, I'm glad I did in the end, because I had a much better dinner, which meant that I
Yeah,
had a much better night. And yeah, so that was good. Um,
I think if it were me, I honestly think I wouldn't have done that final step. I would have just stopped eating it and
mhm.
then just made do with whatever I got. Uh, but I'm glad you did that. I mean, I just I don't like making any scene whatsoever, but totally deserved, it's fine too.
Yeah. Kate,
What
as
you
Kate
didn't take
points
the
out,
go
it
ahead.
would have been a much bigger deal if it had an allergy, and because I think it was probably cooked in butter. Like, if I had a dairy allergy or something like that, then it would have been a much bigger deal. Um,
Yeah.
and
You didn't
then
take the approach
Anne
of like an animal died, an animal's already now been served to me, might as well just finish it. It's gonna go to waste anyway. I should honor the animal by eating it.
No, I had no none of that. Was
Yeah.
and as didn't your wife get the same thing? Yeah, we both got the same piece of plate and or the same piece of chicken, or and she didn't. She ended up not eating hers because I was the guinea pig who tried it first, and then we were like, no, this is just there's just no way.
All right. And Steven is here. He says, I'm late. Hi, folks. Good to see you, Steven. Always good to see you, Steven. Okay. I guess we can jump into our weather report. We got a lengthy weather report, not so much in terms of the main article, but why not? We'll see how it goes. All right, here we go. This is a good one, Doug. Researchers have discovered microplastics in human testicles, and that raises concerns about the potential impact on male fertility. They examined 23 human testes and 47 testes from pet dogs, and microplastic was in every single sample.
Wow.
So that isn't bad. I mean, that is, I would say it is bad. I wouldn't say it's very surprising because I already assumed this was in every human body
Right.
you'd find who's been around long enough to eat food. I don't know. I mean, the fact that it's in testicles, I guess do things accumulate there for some reason? I don't know. But there you go. And they said that I think they couldn't for some reason examine the human ones to know if sperm count was lowered, but that it was in the dog ones that they examined. So could potentially impact fertility. Luckily, I'm done with that.
Yeah,
So are you?
me too.
Not a
Yeah, I
concern.
mean, yeah, scary stuff.
Yeah. That stuff is what always the stuff that gets me. I'm like, man, you can't escape it. It's just here. No matter how you choose to eat, you're gonna end up getting it. I mean, I guess no. Even if you were just like super pure about whatever farm grown, your own farm. If you're a carnivore, you go hunt your own animals. Like, I think you're still gonna get it. It's in the waters and everything. No escaping it. All right. Up next, turns out we were talking about leafy greens last week when Big Meaty X Claus asked about how to get more of them. the Ohio State University has conducted a study on foodborne illnesses, and they found that leafy greens were the major source of foodborne illness. 9.18% of foodborne illnesses that were studied here come from leafy greens. So I don't know what you do about that other than listen out for the recalls when they happen, and don't eat the food. You worried about that, Doug?
Well, 9 point what percent?
9.18% of foodborne illnesses
are from leafy greens.
Well, in this study, caused by the identified pathogens that they were talking about, yes. And they're estimating 2.3 million illnesses in the United States each year come from leafy greens.
Wow.
So maybe we should be eating less.
Maybe we shouldn't eat our greens.
No, maybe we should get vegetables a different way. Get broccoli, get some green things, but not leafy greens. I don't know why they're so problematic. They are always rotten in those things.
You know, I mean, so far as far as I know, I can't confirm this, but as far as I know, there's been 0 reports of illness from Compliment Daily Greens, which which you can get for up to 30% off right now if you go to lovecompliment.com.
All right, good. Way to go. Batting 1,000 as far as foodborne illness goes. All right, Dr. Khan shared this one, and then my mom shared it with me. I didn't get the full study. You have to pay for that, a lot of money, but they did a big meta-analysis on olive oil and the cardiovascular disease incidence, coronary heart disease incidence, and all-cause mortality. And they also checked cancer incidence as well. But the first 3, cardiovascular disease, coronary heart disease, I don't know the difference between those 2 things, and all-cause mortality, all of them were reduced by taking in olive oil. Again, I don't have full details here, but the RR, these risk ratios, or relative risk, I guess it is, they were 0.85, 0.85, and 0.77, and that means a reduction of 15%, I think, relative to like not eating the olive oil. And then they said for every 10 grams increment of olive oil intake, the risk of cardiovascular disease incidence, stroke incidence, cardiovascular disease mortality, and all-cause mortality decreased by 7%, 5%, 8%, and 8% respectively. So 10 grams, I think, is like 2 teaspoons, because I think a teaspoon is about 5 grams. So less than a tablespoon of olive oil, you get those 7, 5, 10, and they're saying, it's, I guess, linear up to a point. So you do two tablespoons of olive oil, for example, and you get even more benefit. They did find no association between olive oil intake and cancer incidence and mortality. But this is pretty good. I mean, they looked at 30 articles, 2,700,000 participants were in these things, and this is what they found. So I consider this very good news, because I'm an olive oil lover, and people are afraid of it. Curious what Anne-Marie thinks here. If it's time to start adding it into that whole foods plant-based diet of yours,
does it
protect your benefits?
So I know, like, it can get oxidized, right? And then that can be harmful, right? If you cook it at too high temperature. Do you know if like cooking it at any temperature causes oxidation? And
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's just like up to the smoke point, it's fine. I'm pretty sure that it must, because even leaving it in a clear bottle on the counter supposedly oxidizes it over time. So I'm sure some amount of heating does something no matter what. And that was why they said that the non-extra virgin olive oil is better for that, almost any kind of cooking.
What's your strategy for buying oil? Is make sure that it's actually olive oil?
I actually don't have a strategy. I kind of went through a period where I did, and I looked up, I used the QR codes and like tracked the stuff and saw it on the source online. You could do that stuff. I still wouldn't know if they were fooling me. Like if it was still just a slightly more sophisticated scam, and I would have been fault for it. So I don't know. I started trying to buy brands that I recognized that they were clearly like Italian brands and not like, supermarket labelings with an Italian name. But honestly, then I got away from that. We started buying the Whole Foods big tin of it since it's cheaper. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what we do as well. But
yeah, that is an important thing. I should pay more attention to that. All right, on to the next. Bad news for some, I guess. Oh, sound machine just broke. That's bad news.
No.
Like it's button is pressing. It's like going down on the screen, but it's not working. So, all right. In Denmark, a Danish court ruled that a claim that a patient's rights were violated when a hospital failed to give her adequate meals for her vegan diet during the stay there 4 years ago. They ruled against that claim. They said her rights were not violated. let's see. The woman had the option of bringing specific food herself or with the help of others. So it wasn't like this was the only food she could possibly eat. She also had the opportunity to buy vegan food in a shop located nearby. So there were other food options, and therefore her rights weren't violated by the fact that the hospital only was serving what was considered inadequate vegan food. She was given dry white rice, baked carrots, celery, and boiled potatoes, which, yeah, that's not very good. And you couldn't eat that for too long. I mean, I don't know. A lot of hospital patients can't necessarily go do those things if they didn't have people that might bring it to them. So even if this woman did have those things, you'd think that like this kind of ruling would consider that like it's still not necessarily okay, because this would be an issue if someone didn't have those things, which you have to imagine is the case for a lot of patients. But I don't know. Don't know enough about the Danish judicial system. All right, and last up, I don't know how to say this, but Nuike Foods, Noike Foods. I don't know.
Noike.
They've launched the first quinoa-based plant milk available in the U.S. Contains quinoa and plant-based protein, so that's interesting that they're adding in plant-based protein with the quinoa. High oleic sunflower oil, seed oil. Doug, you don't like those seed oils? I know that. Calcium carbonate, vitamins A, D2, E, B12, salt, sunflower lecithin, gellan gum, and vanilla flavoring. So, I mean, it's fairly clean label. That's not too bad. But yeah, quinoa, I just would have thought by now somebody would have made a quinoa milk. So I'm surprised that
I'm surprised by that too. Would you drink it? Quinoa milk?
I mean, I would taste it, but quinoa puts off a little smell that I don't like that much. So I'm guessing that milk's going to have that essence to it. And I just don't think I'm going to be that into that.
I wonder what the plant-based protein is, like pea protein?
Yeah, I wondered the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Little interaction from the audience. Vegan Science says his leafy greens are frozen and then pressure cooked. What's also great about frozen greens is that they're flash frozen at the peak of freshness, no risk of contamination. So I didn't actually realize that. I know that you preserve a lot of nutrients by freezing stuff instead of trying to eat it fresh when it can have time to rot on the truck or whatever. So I get that part. I didn't know that reduced the contamination risk. That because I guess contamination would only come as the freshness is degrading. Kind of maybe a byproduct of that whole process as you get more bacteria. So yeah, interesting.
Mr. Jeffrey says that the contamination usually comes from poor cleaning practices because of people eat it raw, whether that's at the farm or at home.
Okay. Well, that's
so also if you're cooking or if you're eating frozen greens, you're probably cooking them. And I don't think anyone just like thaws them and eats them. I guess you put them in a smoothie.
Yeah, you can do that. That's right. Good. All right. And then we kind of talked about all the other comments. Still nothing from Michael. I want to hear about this II thing. I want to hear the response. Because, by the way, I checked back in on this iron thing. I reported that my iron numbers were great. I looked a little closer, did more research, and found my overall iron number, fantastic, great, right in the middle of the optimal zone. My ferritin number, which is like, I think measures oxygen in the blood, how it is stored somehow, is stored in a blood protein or something. I'm not clear at all on that stuff, but that number was still in the optimal, still in the green, but it was near the lower end of the green. And what I read is, as your oxygen stores deplete, the low ferritin will be the first sign that it's out, right? Because these stores will run out first, and then your actual iron number would go down. So that's something for me to keep monitoring, that number stays where it is and doesn't fall lower. Because then Michael would be right. But anyway, like I said, I was appreciative that he said that because it made me go do blood work. And then Erin today did her blood work. She was inspired by me. So Michael, you are changing lives with those comments.
Did you just go to the doctor and get your blood panel?
No, I just go to ultralabs.com and pick them out and then go to Quest and do that and then cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. Cool.
Cut out the doctor. No need for doctors anymore. We have computers.
We have AI. What do you think? What's your take on the whole Google AI thing?
I don't know. What is it? Don't know about it.
Oh.
I know they were going to charge for AI. I heard that a long time ago. Is that true?
No. Well, I don't know about that, but Google search now is rolling out instead of giving you all the results
right
at the top, it's going to give you their results or what their AI results.
Yeah, I've seen that, and it never alarmed me enough to step back and say, oh, now they're giving me AI stuff. I do now that you say, and I think back on my experience, I do have this immediate distrust for that top, whatever they're putting in that top there. I kind of just skip that and get to the pages because I'm like, I don't trust whatever's going on here.
Well,
And I don't know why that is.
Their like tagline is like Google do the Googling for you, and
Uh-huh.
but it's supposed to cut out by the end of the year. They estimate that 40% of web traffic to non-Google sites will go down.
Wow,
which
that's
is huge
crazy.
for
Yeah.
publications like us. Like if we were relying on No Mean Athlete, you
Yep.
know, traffic, like that would be terrifying. And also it's terrifying just like thinking about, all the news websites and stuff like that that do rely on
Right.
on
Veg
traffic.
News, who writes their traffic for search engines now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, right.
That's troubling.
You start writing it for AI, I guess, but then you don't even get the credit for it. But I saw something that was talking about, because it just rolled out a week or two ago, and there's Onion articles that are being quoted in some of the answers, and all kinds of things. So it seems like it's pretty bad, but they seem stuck on it still, and going to be rolling out. Continue rolling out.
People are stuck on AI for sure, and probably it's probably inevitable. So it's probably right to be stuck on it. But yeah, people definitely don't easily let go of the idea that AI is going to change everything. But yeah, like it's funny, I didn't think about that, but I just naturally have been skipping that thing. I'm like, I don't even care what that thing says. I just go right down to the next stuff and continue my search. Maybe that's just a habit of not
like ignoring
usually
the
that
ads.
top page. I don't read too much anyway. When they used to like suggest a large snippet, I would kind of just want to do my own thing. And I guess that's a thing. I want to do my own research instead of like letting someone else decide what's relevant and what isn't.
Right.
But that is what ChatGPT does well. Is like it makes you not have to do all that. It kind of synthesizes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I would say that AI obviously is part of our lives in so many different ways. But this like information AI, where you're just like Googling things, or you're searching ChatGPT for answers and stuff, I would say that has for the most part just been nothing but disappointing. And so to roll it out on Google, worldwide, seems like it's just gonna cause a whole bunch of issues.
Yeah, it does seem like that. But maybe it'll get maybe it'll get smarter and better way faster now that people are, if there's some kind of feedback built in, which I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, good. There you go. There's your AI minute. All right. So we got 10 minutes. Only thing I have today was not a new thing at all. My mom sent me it over the weekend. It's the best foods to slow aging according to leading longevity experts. It's from the InsideTracker.com blog, which funnily enough, I don't like Inside Tracker because I did one of their tests a long time ago, 2015, and it came back as crazy off the charts iron levels. So that was the only other time I really tested for iron and thought about it. Not intentionally. It was just part of an Inside Tracker like panel that they gave me for free if I was going to share it or whatever. And I got off the charts iron, and I got all concerned about it because I found out that the only way to get rid of iron is literally to like dump blood. So I was going to go donate blood, which I don't usually do. I mean, it's not that I won't, but it's just not a big priority. And I was all worried about it. And then it turned out that I was eating this fruitarian diet when I did the test, and that the fruit will put iron levels off the charts. But Inside Tracker didn't give me anything like, hey, you should fast before you do this or anything like that. And so I got really scared. So anyway, I've just faded Inside Tracker ever since then.
Wait, so does fruit give you high iron levels? I mean, were your iron levels alarmingly high?
Yeah, it scared me. They were really high, and it had some name for the, I don't know what it was, HEMA something. And it was like, this can, 5x your cancer risk and all these other things if you have this level of iron in your blood for your life. And it's not just going to change unless you do something about it, meaning get rid of blood, cycle blood somehow. So anyway, I got all worried. But yeah, and like if you look up, people say this all the time with plant foods. Like if you eat high vitamin C foods, combine them with your iron source foods, that will help with absorption. So I wonder if somehow that is related. If these fruits, which tend to be higher in vitamin C, if that somehow affects the blood test. But anyway, unrelated to this article, because this is about how to slow aging. They've got 5 foods here. They're all kind of detailed explanations, and we'll go through them quickly without getting into all the details, and then we can say what we think about it after that. I've got some hesitations here.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Number 1, broccoli sprouts. They cite Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who is kind of the person who put broccoli sprouts on the map, and sulforaphane. Even my dad at one point was doing all this complicated stuff with broccoli sprouts and soaking them in some sort of perfect temperature water that would express the sulforaphane even more, make it more available or whatever, and then eating them. It's sulforaphane she says that it helps to drastically cope with stressors and harmful compounds and things that we're exposed to daily. And she says suppression of inflammation is believed to be the single most important predictor of successful aging. So the idea here is you would suppress that inflammation by taking in lots of sulforaphane. And these broccoli sprouts have like 50 to 100 times the amount of sulforaphane that mature broccoli and even other cruciferous vegetables have. So there's your reason for eating broccoli sprouts. Doug, are you in on that or not? You can start serving that in your burritos instead of broccoli on the side.
I don't know much about the science behind all of it, honestly. But I do like sprouts quite a bit.
Yeah, sprouts are good.
And I like the way they taste, and I like eating them. And they just feel really healthy. Like first, maybe it's all in my head, but if I add sprouts to a salad or you add sprouts to something, like it just feels like you're eating nutritious food.
Yeah, you're right. It
and
does.
You probably are.
Also carriers of food-borne illness, I think, a lot of times. You got to be careful with that because they're grown sometimes on feces. I don't know about broccoli sprouts, but I think alfalfa maybe are. So those things, and I think even Dr. Greger stays away from sprouts because he says it's just too high risk of getting food poisoning. Yep.
What
about what?
Doug, what's his last name? Doug.
The sprouts guy, Doug Evans. That's
sprouts guy. Yeah. I mean, he just grows them in a jar. I've always been intrigued by that.
Yeah, and I did that for a while, and it's remarkably easy. It's like you almost can't mess that up. It's just a simple thing. It happens in a very short time, and I think that's what my dad was doing. I think you can get a jar. You can buy one of those little plastic systems that makes it even better. But yeah, it's very simple. Like if you just have a little bit of discipline, you could make that a daily routine, and you'd be healthier for it. And I think you probably avoid those illnesses for the most part. The risk of that. So. All right, so there's that one. You can already see some of the problems developing here with my opinion of this. Number 2 is pomegranate. With pomegranate, they talk about you just can't do a million words to get to the actual what to do. Urolithin A is a compound or whatever. It's too much to even try to figure out what it is without in this show. But they say no safe dosage has been established for it. So even though it may be very helpful in doing something that probably leads to longevity. And that's another one of these concerns is you got to take a couple steps to get to actually living longer, some leaps of faith. But if you do that, if you don't want to get the actual stuff, since there's no safe dosage, yet established, get it from pomegranates, which are a natural source. So you can get it that way, and you're getting it, I guess, because you're getting it in a food, you're a little bit, you can rest assured that you're probably not getting a huge overdose of it. Now, if you started only eating pomegranates, then I would wonder how much is too much. But because you're getting it from a food, I think you're probably a little bit on the safe side. So there's that one. I like pomegranates. Probably not going to start incorporating them into my diet. They're just a pain to do. And I don't like
they are a pain. Things. You almost lost a finger because of pomegranates.
Well, because of a dish that contained pomegranates. But I was chopping mint when that happened.
Oh, okay.
But the pomegranates went on. And I still make that dish, and it's very good. From Chloe's Italian Kitchen. White bean spread on little toast things. With mint, pomegranate seeds, and it just all works perfectly. Great Christmas appetizer.
Are you drinking palm?
No, not drinking palm either. I'm priced out of palm. It was too expensive 15 years ago when it came on the market, and I never really considered it.
Man, talk about a drink that made a splash. When that came on the market, it was huge.
And it's still around. It didn't just go away. You still, a lot of grocery stores still have it in the cold drinks area. Yeah, that was really good marketing. Because remember, I think they were sending that to a bunch of influencers. And that was pretty early on to be doing that kind of thing in your marketing.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. Spinach is the next one. We hear spinach often much maligned, I would say, because of the oxalate issue and the kidney stones and the bladder stones or whatever comes from it. I think Vegan Stallion it was the other day who said all the greens that he eats, he does not eat spinach because he's worried about exactly that. But in this case, spinach is called out as a longevity food, and that is because of its high folate content. You don't want too much folate. So again, stick to natural source, probably a good way to limit that, at least in some way. Folate's known to protect telomeres or telomeres, however you want to say that. People say it differently. Structures at the end of chromosomes, and you know that telomere length, that's always one of the hot topics when it comes to longevity. So there's that one. They also distinguish between folate and folic acid. Folic acid has significantly higher bioavailability, and I'm honestly not sure what that has to do with spinach. If spinach is the one that has more folic acid, or does it have more of the folate? I think it just has more of the folate. So anyway, there's that. There's a reason to eat spinach. No mention of oxalates, and a lot of people like vegan stallion avoid it for that reason. And I'll go ahead and spoiler alert for you here. To me, when you talk about a mechanism and you say this has folate, and we know that folate does this, and we know that this is probably good for longevity, you're missing out on, but what happens when you eat tons of spinach? And now I think it's probably fine to eat tons of spinach, but well, I shouldn't say fine. Tons of it is not a good idea, and especially not for the wrong type of person, the wrong person who has predisposition to this kind of stuff. But to me, I don't like this mechanism theorizing about this is going to do this and this and this, because what else comes with the thing you're eating, and is that going to do something more extreme in the opposite direction or worse than the other way? So that's kind of my problem with the article. But let's get to the last one here. Strawberries. We've heard this story before. It is, again, a compound that is great, fisetin, and it helps kill senescent cells. And these are cells that lose their ability to divide, but they don't die. And it ends up leading to accumulation and inflammation and things like that. So this fisetin stuff looks like it's good in mice trials, which is maybe good for people. We don't know. But no established safe level yet. But it's in strawberries, so eat some strawberries and you'll get lots of it. Oh, and then I forgot one. Then there's finally mushrooms, where they've got ergo and glutathione and, kind of the same stuff. They're good compounds. They're in these foods. These compounds are thought to do good things. So I don't know. I mean,
here's my tip. Basically what you talked about, but I do think that there is some benefit in identifying certain compounds that are in certain foods and kind of, lifting those foods up a little bit, or at least calling out that, spinach has a lot of this, or mushrooms have a lot of that, broccoli sprouts a lot of this. But I think it's a little dangerous when you start zeroing in too much on foods, like your dad was doing with the broccoli sprouts. Not saying the broccoli sprouts are bad, but then you start obsessing over eating a ton of those things, and they may not be the best food for, to make up a large chunk of your calories or a large chunk of what you're eating. Right. And so, when we talk about, when I want to think about foods I want to eat every day, it's more foods that have are beneficial in a lot of different ways. High fiber, high anti-inflammatory compounds, high, whatever, that make you, that are just healthy foods to be eating regularly. Instead of just saying all right, this is the food, strawberries are the food, therefore I'm going to start making sure that I eat 2 servings of strawberries every single day, no matter what. Because you just don't know. I don't think that's a good way to approach life in general, but certainly not food.
Yeah, I have pretty much the same take as you. And it's just sort of a risk aversion, I guess. If broccoli sprouts contain 50 times the amount of sulforaphane that even cruciferous vegetables do, and those are already stand out in the vegetable family for how much anti-cancer stuff, including sulforaphane and those other isothiocyanates, I believe they're called. Might there also be something else in that food that has 50 times the amount or 100 times the amount of what is in other foods? And what if that's not so good in all cases, right? Whatever this other thing or things it might be that it has a ton of. So let's not go base our whole diet on this one new food or food group just because it has this. That it just scares me to do that with any food at all. To just say this is my diet and that's all I'm going to eat, or I'm going to eat a ton of this every day. I don't know. I just like you. I think let's yes, I'm not saying sprouts are dangerous for you or bad for you, but I just think we should eat them as part of a basket of lots of vegetables and things like that. And it doesn't seem to me that chasing after individual mechanisms like this is a good idea. And the article even gets to that, right? They said, we don't know about safe levels for these kinds of things. So the assumption then that just eating pomegranates instead of supplementing with it is therefore fine, even that's a little bit too much for me to accept, because if it's not a safe level of this, then just because it's in a pomegranate doesn't mean that I'm going to be within that level as long as I only eat pomegranates. Because if you eat too much, you still could exceed whatever is not known about it. So I don't know. I don't think we need to be afraid of any of these foods, and I don't think any of these foods needs to become a huge part of our diet.
Mm-hmm.
So
Paralysis through analysis.
Yeah, or are we the ones that are doing that? Maybe we should just go ahead and eat the things and not analyze it to death. I don't know, but in general, I like the long-term empirical observational stuff when it says these people who ate this food ended up living longer and avoiding things. And we don't have any of that here. We have a bunch of theories about this will supposedly do this in the body, and we know that probably does this. And that's too much for me. It's fine, but I'm just like, you just might be wasting your time, even if it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
So, but that's not what longevity research is about, right? The new longevity science is about finding the exact compounds, putting them in the pills, and getting those pills, or doing the activities or the whatever it is, the sauna or the things. It's not so much about like just kind of do good habits and try to get the most out of years. It's about how we're going to get to 150, 200, and beyond. And I understand that, but it's just not really something I've been focused on.
Yeah. Brandon Turner asks why moringa was chosen for daily greens. And, we worked with a couple RDs and doctors to develop that formula. But I think moringa is anti-inflammatory properties. I can't remember exactly why we selected it. Do you remember?
I don't remember that specific one. I know all of them. We made sure that all of them were there, present in the doses that had been shown in tests to actually help with things. So that was, I think, in general, avoiding this mechanistic thing a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know that specific one. Moringa is high in like protein, isn't it? Which was not the point of daily greens, but I thought people get moringa powder as a protein powder. So I don't actually know for sure. All right. Steven says teach their own, but I enjoy the idea of a healthy diet stressing you out that it's not healthy. Yeah, and I think that's right. Because that stress is a factor, and if it takes that much work to get the stuff, unless it brings you joy and it becomes kind of your purpose, which for some people, including my dad at that phase, like it seemed like that was his thing, where it took a lot of energy, but it doesn't mean it wasn't a drain on him. He loved doing it. So it can be that, but it also can be stressful. And Garuda says something I agree with. The thing is, the oldest people to live and who have the best longevity ate meat and avoided refined carbs and processed foods. I do think in general that is very true, because the oldest people to live is the blue zones. Only one of those blue zones is vegetarian. But I think Garuda would acknowledge they eat very low amounts of meat compared to, certainly compared to carnivore dieters, but even compared to just standard American dieters. You couldn't get a clear picture whether it was a daily thing or a once a weekly thing, the meat, but the quantity each time was much less. So yeah, I'm with you. I understand that. And as I always say, I would love for that research. I would like to see research on a very, very low meat diet and see how that compares to a vegan diet in terms of health. All right. Vegan Stein says T. Colin Campbell wrote Whole, where he cautions against the nutritional isolationism you're talking about. The interactions of foods in the body are so complex, we can't know. Yeah, that's a good book. And I think that is definitely kind of, I read that a long time ago. And I think that's definitely part of the foundation of my just sort of, in general, erring on the side of, things that are whole and not the reductionist thing, the other thing. But see, I think he would probably argue eat the pomegranates instead of the compound. I'm going a step past that and saying, like, just because it's in a food doesn't mean necessarily it's good for us to eat a ton of that food. So I don't know. But anyway, Whole was a difficult read. I read that one and I felt like it was overwhelming, the food issues in industry and society. And it was just like, I don't know what to do. It was just tough to get through. All right. That's it. We made it. And plus 7 minutes extra today.
We did it. And you still have 3 hours and 8 minutes to head over to lovecommon.com. Take advantage of the
3 p.m. Eastern time. It ends. What do they get if they were there? They can go get the deals. Can they still access all the content? Can they quickly download it?
They can quickly download it, or they can pay just a couple bucks and get lifetime access if they want to do that. Yeah, you got 3 hours to just wreak havoc all over Plantapalooza.
Yeah, there you go. Good. 3 hours left to change your life. Brandon Turner says, Matt must have coffee mugs. He's talking about my shirt, and I have not done the mugs yet. I understand. But yes, that is top of mind for me, the coffee mugs. So
Yeah, I bet it is.
it is. And I
Uh,
talked to and got going on with the shorts or on Friday. So
oh, you
that's
did?
happening. Emily and I caught
All
up,
right.
had a process figured out because our numbers are up. The YouTube numbers are up. These carnivore troll comments are helping us, I think. So it's encouraged me to
Hey,
get some.
massive shout out to those who are commenting positive things too. Like a couple people right after the show's done, they're just refreshing and going over and leaving a comment, and I
You're
love
right.
it.
Massive shout out is deserved for that. You're right. I should have thought of that myself. But I was struck by that when I read it. I forget when it was Thursday, Wednesday. I don't know. But I did it. We finished the show, and there was like 3 comments an hour later from people saying, "Great show, love this, missed it, but loved it," or whatever. And that's what we've been asking for. So thank you for doing that. Drowns out some of the noise. Like I said, I don't want to discourage those troll comments because I think they're helping us. But if we can put more nice ones in there, it's certainly more pleasant to read the comments when they come in. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for participating, contributing, engaging, all that stuff. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a comment, do all you can do to support the show. And we'll see you
Absolutely.
tomorrow.